Hi, it's Simon. The sun's just come out and it's a nice afternoon. Now, in my hands, I've got a few things. I've got one of those, called orange and mandarin. I've got one of those, one of my workbooks. I've got this set of batteries, and I've got some phones. So, what do all those things have in common? Why have I brought them out as props for this video, which is what I did? Well, I want to talk to you about energy. Energy is one of those subjects which, depending on how you think about it, how you've framed it in your mind, can seem very woo-woo or very grounded in reality. It can seem essential and very scientific, or it can seem quite esoteric and quite hard to understand. Now, one of the often leveraged aspects of life in our universe is this sun. The sun energy coming down on the planet Earth is often one of the biggest energy sources we've had for many years, heating up the planet, driving all this nature around us. And if you think about it, this fruit in my hand here, that's come from sun energy being captured and translated, transmutated by the plants into this, which I could eat to get some energy. I can possibly turn some of that into battery energy and plug that in and use it. Well, how does that relate to what you write down in your workbooks, and how does this energy from the fruit really impact you? Have you ever woken up tired in the morning and thought, I'll have a coffee, that'll help me? And you have the coffee, but it doesn't really help, and you're actually tired all day, and you're not firing on all cylinders. We talk about playing at level 10, being a level 10 player, and that's really being at your peak performance in terms of not just how fast you're moving, but how clearly you're thinking, how inspired you are, the shackles being removed, the anchors cut off. And I think often we think that some food or drink is going to help us, and biologically, that isn't quite the case. When I eat this right now, there's a time delay between taking that energy in and using it. And often, actually, there isn't a lack of calories in the body that we could use to generate excitement and energy. But we need to learn how to manage our states. Earlier in this video, I just made a tumble with my words. And it could have been easy to have let myself go, oh, I can't do it, and stop. Now, in doing videos time and after again and training myself to be able to pause, stop, reset, I've learned better and better how to get myself back to a space of able to function. But we all have good days and bad days. Now, even batteries themselves, if you leave them on the shelf for a few days, weeks, months, years and decades, they lose that capacity to charge. And even that energy doesn't necessarily provide us the energy we need to get the job done. So you could have a lot of slow energy, but actually what the task requires is a giant volume of energy in the moment to get through something, to strike through the board and grab the apple in the martial arts sense, to pierce something if you're trying to do manufacturing. And when you're constructing, sometimes what you need to get through a soft soil is different than getting through a hard surface, a hard rocky surface. So what are we talking about? Energy is so interesting, right? You can't really feel it, but it's there. You can't really put it into a bucket and hold it. It hasn't got a colour and a texture, but there is something that's energetic to our lives. And I think the energy aspect is so vital. If I look back over the last few months of lockdown, the last few years, this aspect of altering my state and understanding how to be energetic in different environments, sometimes that were very easy, just doing a few minutes, a few hours of work a day, and other times being asked to work for 2-3 days in a row without any sleep, without any rest periods. And even if you got rest, you might have 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, but the brain's not switching off, the brain's not giving you that rest. So rest and sleep is different from energy. Just think about that for a second. Your rest and sleep doesn't necessarily alter the energy you have. And it might do. You might need to give yourself the time to pause, stop and reset. Now, over the years, I've tried different meditation techniques and breathing techniques, visualization techniques. I've learned and trained my body to operate in certain ways. And often it does that until it needs a rest, until you actually need yourself to go have a reset day. Often in the old days, one of my mentors would say, go take a day on the mountain. And that means leaving your phones, leaving computers, and just going away for 24 hours, 48 hours at least, to a completely different location, where you can have that high vantage point, where you can really reset your thinking, because I get so easily locked down into something. And most of what we're doing today, I think, is actually diminishing our energy, diminishing how vibrant we are. And if you look at children often, they have a different energetic to life. You show them the same environment and they'll go play and run around and explore it. Whereas most of us will kind of go, yeah, we've seen that before. Now, I'm not asking you to go into some hyper state of being manic. I don't think that's energetic either. I think that's a state, I said, of sort of being hyperactive, and that's not useful. Learning how to harness our energy, learning how to change it, I think is so vital. And if I think back at our times in business, in the banking world, when there were stressful things going on, truthfully, huge amounts of money. Oh, the timer's going there, one of our clocks. And actually, it's one of the things I do. I provide myself with time windows to give myself a sense. Because if you're not weighing, counting, measuring your time, how do you know what you're doing? How do you actually know that? Because you may find that a few minutes can feel like hours, and hours can feel like seconds. So if you're not using systems and devices to monitor yourself and to manage yourself and manage your energy state, well, how do you know actually how well you can perform? Now, often in the old days, they'd say we go by the sun. When the sun rises, we wake up. When the sun sets, we go to sleep. Well, that's fine. And maybe that's how we were supposed to be, with our rhythms cycling with the seasons. But also, in the modern world, that isn't how we operate. People often are waking up when the sun's already set or clipsed, and they're getting up before it's risen or clipsed again. That's Bucky Fuller language for those who don't know. So, what are we talking about? What are we excited about? Firstly, my goal in this energetic video was to talk about energy with some energy. Now, maybe you're watching this going, I want to shut it off, I'm tired by this, I'm not enjoying it. That's okay, notice that, and that actually itself is quite useful. Sometimes I'm asked to read and watch content that I find draining. Other times I watch content and asked to read things, engage with people that I find enlives me, that nurtures me, that has me excited, and I find myself with more energy than you might realize, and a 5-minute conversation can become hours, and it's so in the flow and so dynamic that I'm not tired at all. So what are those tasks that you find lift you up, and what are the tasks that drain you, and how can you create a system that balances them? So maybe you do a few hours on the ones that require you to put energy in, and then a few hours on those things that you get energy back from. This morning when I woke up, to be completely transparent, I found myself going, you know what, I could rise and shine, but I actually realized my body, my system needed some time to process, and allowed myself to be with it, watching what came up. I didn't just do nothing. I was thinking about it, I was processing, I was writing some journals, I reached out to a few people. But I was also present to my energy in that moment wasn't the energy I needed to do different things. And understand the energy you need to do different tasks, to complete different things optimally, is so important. Most of the injuries that happen in sports and business, they happen because people are trying to do something, but without the right focus, the right clarity, the right energy to complete that task. Now, let's give you a last thought to end the video on. Let's say it required 100 oranges worth of energy to complete something, and you had 100 oranges. Would that be enough to go after that task? Go on, yes or no answer. 50-50 as they say, yes or no. Have you got a choice? Well, the truth of it is you get to say it's your life. I would say if you have a task with 100 energies of energy required, and you only have 100 energy, and you do it all, you're down to 0. That's not enough to then pause, stop and reset to consider. And most of us are doing that. We're putting everything in, but without having a way to get it back. Now, thankfully, the life, the universe, our breath brings us energy. And often there is that flow of in and out happening. But it's easy to get out of balance and easy to get yourself down to a deficit. And when you're below that, getting yourself back up to 0 can take a lot more than you think. Whereas if you're actually already full and you're constantly topping it up and coming from the abundances, that's a whole different way of operating. That's what I've been grateful for my studying of Tai Chi, from Qigong and Neigong, and other things I've studied now for 20, 30 years, learning different ideas about energy, how to create it, how to form it. And often it's the people I'm speaking with and the conversations I'm in that most alter my state and my energy. So thank you for being part of this conversation today that's got me out of my house into the sunshine, talking to you now. And I hope it's been useful, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.